Joining us now to discuss this further is CoinDesk Chief Insights Columnist and host of the narrative podcast Crypto Crooks, David Z. Morris. David, always great to see you. How's it going?
Hi, George. It's going good. This was a very interesting morning, obviously. You mentioned our podcast, Crypto Crooks. We've spent the last 2 months looking at Do Kwon. We just published, of course, our last episode 2 days ago. So we're going to have to do a bit of an update. But yeah, I've been following this story for a long time. And this seems like we're getting closer to a conclusion, although there are still a lot of mysteries out there.
So David, please tell me and the listeners, what exactly did Do Kwon do that was illegal, right? A lot of people start businesses, a lot of people have projects, and they don't work out. What happened here? It wasn't just Luna going to zero, right?
No, and there have been other algorithmic stablecoins. Well, I'll back up a little bit. Do did two things. One was stupid but not criminal. The other was stupid and criminal. The thing that he did that was stupid but not criminal was trying to build an algorithmic stablecoin, which is a fundamentally, permanently, and irredeemably flawed idea that will never work. And it is hilarious to me, and I will never stop making fun of all of the venture capitalists and hedge funds who got suckered by this very publicly flawed idea. You are dumb. Get out of the business. You don't know how any of this works. However, Do Kwon at the same time was doing things that were stupid and criminal. Those included faking transactions on the blockchain to make it look like this thing called Chai was actually using the payment rails of the Luna network to settle cash payments in Korea, digital payments in Korea. So that was outright fraud. That information was included in SEC charging documents from last month. And we also now know that Do Kwon has stolen money from the reserve. And perhaps the most tantalizing piece of criminal activity, which also implicates other entities, including allegedly a US-based entity, was that in May of 2021, Terra USD, the algorithmic stablecoin, experienced a depegging event that should have and would have sent it to zero a year before it ultimately crashed, except that Do Kwon was secretly negotiating with a hedge fund based in the US to bail it out, to buy a bunch of Terra USD, to push it back up to $1. That's also fraud, because after that, he and others would continue claiming that Luna's mechanism made it self-balancing. So this is all, we don't have criminal charges in the US yet, but this certainly looks like criminal fraud. We know that the FBI and DOJ are investigating, and there are charges in South Korea. We're not really privy to the details of those charges, but he is sought in South Korea, and it seems he's been hit with some minor criminal charges in Montenegro, but he will probably wind up extradited to South Korea, where he will stand trial. Hopefully.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and you got very worked up about it, how algorithmic stablecoins seemed to be doomed to fail, right? There are times where I'm pretty sure Do Kwon claims that there was some sort of exogenous attack that led to the downfall. There are some lunatics, which is what the Luna faithful call themselves. They think that as well. Many others, I think you yourself, thought it was inevitable. Could you just expand on that just a little bit more? Talk a little bit more about the
yeah, and just so people know that I'm very credible on this topic. I wrote and published a piece about how Luna would fail 2 weeks before it actually happened. And we detailed, and I'm not the only person to do this, a lot of other people have described in detail exactly how it would happen and how it then did happen. And the thing to understand about all of this that's most fundamental is that despite the way he presented himself, Do Kwon is a pretty dumb guy. If he ever thought any of this was actually functional, his brain is not working at the highest possible capacity, and he's using his Stanford degree to snow people. The reality is that he was constantly making statements that kind of evaded the main point, that were distracting people from the central claim that he could create something that was algorithmically stable, including the decision that he made at the beginning of last year to start building this big Bitcoin reserve. It was supposed to, quote unquote, help stabilize Terra USD. Of course, what it really was an exit scam. This was Do Kwon getting his stash ready to flee with. And we saw that that's what actually happened. So, the red flags were all over the place. I feel bad for the individual retail traders who got taken in by this. Maybe you could blame some of the VCs who led you up the primrose path, who should have known better. But this is just an embarrassment all around for a lot of people who should be embarrassed and should go away, and not just Do Kwon either.
Yeah. David, this is all about Bitcoin, and I got one more question for you. Let's bring this back to Bitcoin. You kind of mentioned it a little bit. What's your Bitcoin angle here? Why does this matter to Bitcoin? For a lot of reasons, but the most obvious one is just that, he did say he was trying to build this reserve. And, of all of the people that should be embarrassed, Bitcoiners are not the highest on the list, but they're up there because Bitcoiners got excited about what Do Kwon was doing in early 2022. They were saying, it's great. This guy's going to buy $10 billion worth of Bitcoin. Number go up. And most of them didn't take a closer look. And, I went on Peter McCormick's show a few months ago, and he made this point that, even if you are a hardcore Bitcoiner, even, dare I say, a maxi, this highlights the fact that you have to understand other things that are going on in the space. You cannot strictly pay attention to Bitcoin because obviously if Do Kwon had been allowed to build this massive reserve and then it had blown up, that would have been a huge event for the Bitcoin market. There are still going to be impacts for the Bitcoin market on just a few $100 million that he had left that he's been selling, and that might still, some of it be frozen. I think the amount still stuck is probably just a little north of 100 million, so maybe not massive, but these things all have impacts, and it's all interconnected, and you have to pay attention, even if you know, like I did, that something like Luna is an illegitimate fraud project. It still has implications and impacts. Yeah, totally agree, David. I'm not without blame. I did write about the Luna Foundation Guard and how it was buying Bitcoin and how it might have been a good thing, but nevertheless, here we are. Anyway, David, thank you for your time.
Thanks so much. And yeah, we're about to get a little plug here on the screen, but check out Crypto Crooks, the podcast, on all of your podcast platforms. We have 2 seasons out, and if I can speak frankly, it's really, really good. So go check it out.